Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff, welcome to First Impressions, hot off the press, literally the new tool 1:48 scale Bristol Bulldog Mk.II from Airfix in 1:48 scale. It's an extra First Impressions. Why? Because I'm going to build it. Hello, yes, welcome to Model Kit Stuff and an extra First Impressions. The reason is I want to get stuck into building this. I usually choose one every year where as soon as it comes out I get stuck into it. And although I've got things going on with a couple of builds at the moment, I can actually fit this in with one of my other builds right now, because I'm also building a B17 and that's also silver, so many of the paints are the same and I can sort of paint parts for both kits at the same time and all that sort of good stuff. So I want to build this. I've been looking forward to this release. For me, if we only get from Airfix the items that were on their catalogue announcement at the start of the year in January, then for me this is probably the star of the show this year. So I've been really looking forward to it. Why? Well, there's not a lot of interwar aircraft around in kit form, in fairness, and this is probably the ultimate interwar aircraft, is my understanding. But what really attracts me to this particular model is that the engine there. It's really makes it a pretty aircraft. So I've been looking forward to this one. 1:48 scale, so we've got a decent size. It's going to allow us to do things like the rigging on it, so lovely. So yeah, let's take a look inside the box. Well, let's have a look at the box first, so as we always do. So typical Airfix, we've got really lovely artwork. They can't show this in action really, as it's an interwar aircraft. I'm guessing when they do other versions there might be options depending on what other countries maybe had them. But it tells us that we've got a Mark II kit here. It tells us our kit number is A05141. So that means it's a Series 5 kit, so if you've got enough of your flying hours saved up, you will be able to get this for free, which is a bargain, isn't it? We've got the usual warning information on this side here. Tells us that where's the information? The model design and tooling is 2024. The decal scheme is 2024, that it was made in India, and that we've got Cartograph decals, and the license to this is now owned by BAE Systems, who was British Aerospace before that, and owned a number of the British aircraft manufacturers, Avro and so on. The sides of the box both show what you've got on the front cover, really, in a different format. And then, as always, we've got a little bit of history on the side of the box. We've got our paint schemes, which in this instance is 3 different versions. We'll look at those in a sec. We've got our paints required for all 3 versions, and then what is specifically required for A and B. So therefore everything you need, and the generics covers C. Tells us that we're a skill level 3. Let's just zoom you in a little bit. Skill level 3, and that we've got 2 flying hours. So when we look at the paint schemes, we've got this one here, A, which says number 3 Squadron, Royal Air Force, Upavon, Wiltshire, England, 1929. So this is the one that's on the front of the box with the big green stripe. Then we've got the same squadron, number 3 Squadron, number 17 Squadron, Royal Air Force, Upavon, Wiltshire, England, 1930. So the following year. And then Bristol Bulldog Mk.II Fighter Squadron number 1, Flying Training School, Royal Australian Air Force, Point Cook, Victoria, Australia, 1930s. So we've also got an Australian version, which is really nice as well. Of the three schemes, I actually prefer this one with the wiggly lines. I think that's really quite eye-catching. It's also in yellow, so that's perfect. I can use the same yellow that I'm using on my B17 build. So, you know, we've got very common colours. So there we go, that's the box. The usual top opening box from Airfix. Fairly flimsy lid. Reasonable box. Noticeable that these boxes have got a bit thinner, therefore a bit cheaper in recent times. But what they're doing is they are putting a lot of effort into the shipper. So these come, if you get them direct from Airfix, they come wrapped in bubble wrap and then put in a big corrugated cardboard shipper. So there is no risk of damage. So I don't mind cost reduction as long as we're not reducing quality, and they're not reducing quality. You do, however, have to be a little bit careful if you're putting this in your stash and stacking all the things on it, because the box is easier to crush than older Airfix boxes that were corrugated. Okay, that said, our plastic, the new dark grey plastic of course, all in a single bag, clear parts in a separate bag, usual approach for Airfix at this scale. Then we've got our instruction manual and our decals. So because of the size of the box, the instruction manual is too wide, which is why it's been folded. So you might want to flatten it and put weight on it for a couple of days before you start using it. It also means that the decals couldn't be fully protected. So we'll have a look at the decals and make sure that everything's okay. Let's have a look at the instructions. So our instruction manual is the familiar Airfix format. It's an A4 colour stapled build manual. On the front we've got a little bit of information and history, and also aircraft specifications, telling us about the armament and the wingspan and speed and that sort of stuff. Then it carries on in multiple languages. Then we've got the usual comment on making sure that you wash the parts and stir your paints thoroughly. Then as we open up, we get down to our assembly instructions. So we've got some brief notes on the instructions. And then the assembly icons all are familiar. Step one, and we're starting with what I assume is the pilot's seat. This must be a two-seater though, so it may not be. Yeah, I think it actually is. So we've got a three-part seat, which is great. That means we're going to have nice detail. As always, we've got clear painting instructions for the seat. So semi-gloss black, they're calling for there, and we can clearly see the part references. So step two, we've got pedals and the stick, and then attaching it onto the seat. Then we've got a framework going onto the back of the seat. All of this so far is in the same semi-gloss black, with the exception of the steering stick, which is in aluminium. Then we've got, oh, that's I thought that was pedals, beg your pardon. It's part of the framework, because then we're putting the pedals on. And we've got the little foot plates there, and they're going into what looks to me like a fuel tank. It may not be, but that's what it looks like. Then we're building up the framework of the internal cockpit frame. So got a couple of different colours there being called out, so that's nice. We've got some detail painting to do. Then we are putting our dial decals on, and yeah, so that's been broken down into three. You may, depending on how big they are, want to punch those out and get rid of all that excess decal film. more parts going on to the construction of the frame there. And then by step 13 we are painting the inside of the fuselage and adding that framework in so you can see it there. And then we go to the other side of the fuselage. So when we get to step 15 we are putting our fuselage halves together. So that's not taken as long, has it? So there's quite a lot of manual here for finishing tail and wings, an engine really. So we've got some other little bits of fuselage going in, so that's interesting. I guess that's so that they can mould those nice and accurately and not have any deformation on the curve. More little parts going in. Again, this is all these separate parts are to allow them to add nice sharp detail, so I really quite like it. Then step 19, we've got some holes to drill. There's a little note. Generator provided power for the wireless radio equipment. It was removable and is therefore not always seen fitted to the aircraft. Right, okay. So I guess that's an option. It does refer you to steps 35 and 36 on page 5. So this is the point where you're having to decide what version you're doing, because you might find there's no radio set fitted on the training version, for example. Don't know, just speculating. We've got two wing halves, but they are the full length of the upper wing length. So that's great. Looks like we've got the donut system of fittings. So we might have some sync. We'll have a look at that when we look at the parts. I quite often get sync around these donut type fittings. I'm not a fan. Then we've got a small, I don't know what that is, but we've got a small part going in there, some form of dish. Tail seems to be a singular full piece, so again, interesting, but with the flaps moulded in, so they won't be positionable. Then we've got the end of the tailpiece fuselage coming together and being fitted, and then the rudder and section of upward sweep of the tail there. So that gets us to step 26, where we're building up these little parts, which I don't know whether they're part of the fuselage, part of the engine mount, I'm not sure, but they're certainly very distinctive as part of the aircraft, and they're not being depicted as painted a different colour. Then we've got some other little bits and pieces going on, what looks like a gun sight or a blade sight or something like that being put together. We've got cannons being mounted on either side. Okay, so we've got guns that are firing through the propeller mounted either side of the nose there, which is interesting. Support struts going in for the lower wing. I don't see that we fitted the lower wing, did we? When did we do that? Okay, I thought that was the upper wing, but I think we had the fuselage upside down, and that's the lower wing. Right, got you. So we're fitting the struts. It'd be worth having a look at these parts because they will also be rigging anchor points, so that would be worth having a look at. Fitting a part onto the wing, and it has a little propeller on it, so not quite sure what it is. It's probably a wind speed, airspeed indicator or something. At a guess, knowing completely nothing about it. There's one on each wing though, so why that would be, I do not know. Right, someone will know, I don't, so whoever it is that knows, please put in the comments what it is. If you know, don't speculate. If you don't know what it is, don't say, but I'd love to know what that was. Oh, there was something about the radio set in step 34 and 35. Oh, okay. Okay, so this was drilling the holes if you want to put them, and it is showing that as an option. So we've got, right, okay, So it's something to do with the radio sets then, I guess, possibly. Not sure. Right, then we've got more structures going in place. This will be ready for the upper wing. Again, the upper wing is 2 halves, but we've got some drilling to do and we've got some removing of parts. That's interesting. So it doesn't tell you that this is an option, but we have some little green lumps we have to remove for some reason. Then we can bring the 2 halves together and we can put the flaps and mount them in different positions. Why you can do that and not the tail, I don't know. Seems a bit odd that you can do one and not the other, but don't know. Need to do a bit of research to see what position these were in when landed, if that's how you're going to model it, like most of us will. Then we've got wing struts going in again, individuals, but they do look like we've got a very positive fitting, so I'm hopeful that they're not going to flap around, because that's always the problem when you're building up bi-winged aircraft. It does also look like in the wings we've got the connection points for the rigging, so I'm really hopeful that we're going to get some rigging instructions. That would be lovely. Step 44, we're adding the upper wing. So I'm guessing that the wing is slightly shaped and not flat. So we might have to jig something up to make sure we fit that. We'll see come the time. Then step 45, we've got another strut, same on 46, different side. We've got another strut coming off to support from there. That's interesting. Step 47, we're building up the landing gear frame. Is it called landing gear when it's in that configuration? Don't know. But it's the frame the wheels go on. So, I mean, fundamentally, that's not really changed from the First World War, other than it's a bit more aerodynamic. Then we've got the wheels. Now, wheels are got the hubs on, and they are 2 halves. So I guess that's to avoid thick plastic and getting sink. Yeah, they look like there's some nice detail on them. Generally, you don't get sidewall writing on Airfix because of the additional cost of license fees, which it'd be nice to have the writing on, wouldn't it? Okay, step 50 now, would you believe it? And we're starting to build up the engine proper. So we've got this pipework here being built up out of separate parts, rather than quite often it's just one moulded part and you've got a load of seam and stuff to clean up, but they've done this separately, so that might make these a bit more tidy. Then we're putting in a center element, which is that, which I'm guessing is the mounts for the pistons, which appear to be individual. Then we've got the sprocket going in, which you don't glue, so it will be rotatable. And then you mount the engine into this rather interesting shaped opening here. It says, note, do not attach cylinders to engine before attaching to the fuselage, as assembly will not fit. Okay, cool. We know they've test built this then. So yeah, engine's in place, and what's it giving us in the way of paint instructions? 53, so can never remember if that's gunmetal or aluminium. I think it's aluminium. And then 56 is for the piston cases with the cooling, and then matte black for the heads there. So we build up 7 of those. They're in 2 pieces. And then we've got a port assembly and a starboard assembly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we must be making 1 of each of those. Yeah. Oh, okay. And that's where they go at the bottom. Starboard and port. Okay, cool. Build in sequence. So we have a sequence to these. 1, 2 and 3. 1. Right, so you pop it on, angle it forward. Okay, this is quite a complex little bit of construction, isn't it? And then, right, so building sequence 1, 2 and 3. So down, on, forward, right, I see, and then back, and it plugs into a little pin here. See if I can get you a bit closer. So if you can see, you're putting it on, there's a little pin there which must locate into a hole in the back of it, which I can't see from the rest of the instructions. So you have to angle it forward to get past that, and then you push it backwards to click it into place. That makes sense. Right then, so we've fitted all of those. Step 58, we've got another ring going on, and then some more pipe work, this time all moulded in one piece. Then we've got the exhaust outlets going on, 2 of them, which seem to feed into the back of the wheels there. So that's 60 steps. Right, then, interestingly, we are on step 60 and 61. And why I say interestingly, when I looked at the box art, I could see the spinner was a different colour to at the front than it was back, and I thought, I really hope they've moulded that as a separate part so it's easy to paint. And they have, but they haven't. So the coloured part is this bit here. So what they've done is they've given you the metal bit to paint separately, and then they've moulded the propeller into the spinner, and the propeller blade is generally a different colour than the back of the spinner, which in the version on the instruction on the box cover is red and is yellow on B, as we saw. So you're going to have to do some pretty nifty masking of the propellers there, because the propellers are going to be wood. Generally British aircraft didn't have laminated wooden propellers, so they should all be the same colour, but we can do some wood effects on this, so that'll be nice. Only apply glue to the highlighted area shown here. So that's the very tip of the very tip there, and then we mount that on and that should spin. 63, we're building up some form of ordnance on a rack. So I don't know whether they're bombs or flares or smoke bombs or incendiaries or what they are, but they're definitely a different shape to what I'm used to on Second World War aircraft. Looks like we've then got a clear plate going in, so this dish must be a lamp or some form of landing light or something like that. And we've got a couple of parts, not quite sure what they are, being fitted into the corners of the wings there. 65, we're adding the front windshield and what would appear to be a radio antenna, though it's quite stubby. 66, we've got some bits going on into the wings, don't really know what they are. I think there is lamps in those though, and there is a clear part definitely going in off centre in the middle bit. And some form of gun, looks like a Vickers machine gun, but again, I'm no expert. And we do see a frontal view of the positions of all of those. Yeah, doesn't it look nice? Oh, and that's it. So, step 66, 66 steps to build the aircraft. And I'm pleased to see that we've got rigging instructions. Look quite busy actually. Note, for experienced modelers who may wish, or the bold and brave, don't have to be experienced, wish to add them to their model, the positions of the many bracing wires and control cables are indicated in the following steps, 67 to 74. Nice, on pages 11 to 13. So we've got 3 pages of rigging instructions. Fantastic. So we have what appears to be the general view of everything, probably as a cross-reference. Then in step 67, attach the undercarriage rigging as shown in red. which is, we definitely have mounting points moulded in the plastic. Fabulous. So you can see it there, and then there's a side view there which gives you how it should angle. Cool. You could do that with stretch sprue, or you could do that with elasticated rigging wire like Easy Line, or any of the rigging lines. There's several brands of them now. Then there's the rudder control wires going in. They're very short, but will certainly add to them. Fishing line, something like that might work well with that. If you drill a little hole, feed it through, and then a dab of glue, and you're there. What you've got to understand is what the colours are. They're not telling you what colours these cables are. So I'm going to assume black. And then connect lowercase letter A to uppercase letter A. Okay. So what they've got is the underside of the wing, capital letters, and the lowercase version of the same letter is the position on the fuselage where they go. Brilliant. So we can see here A, small a, goes to big A there. So that sort of rigging is very difficult to do with elastic. Really difficult, because you can't stretch it and tension it. You've got to feed it into holes. So I do recommend fishing line or similar for those sort of tasks where where it naturally wants to hold a little bit straighter, or even better, stretch sprue. But yeah, nice and clear, the rigging instructions. I love it. Then they're doing exactly the same for the wing bracing wires. Small letter, big letter. Love that system. Never seen that before. Really, really nice. So although it looks complex, if you're doing one letter at a time, nice and easy. Generally, my rule of thumb is start in the middle, move out. So we'd start with probably M, and then I, and then N, and then K. So go from the inner to the outer, from the middle to the outer, if that makes sense. Then they carry on that at the wing ends, and they're showing you several views, so perfect, you get a really good look. Step 72, the strut cross bracing wires being added, very nice. I'm sure it'll be clear on the parts where they attach. So we're doing that on both sides of the wings. They lean out with the struts, which is great. And then 74, which I think, yes, is the last step, is attaching the radio cables. So we've got 4 connection points there. And again, doing that with elastic would be a little bit problematic. It is doable, might actually be the best way. But yeah, again, stretch sprue or fishing wire. So yeah, very, very nice. Right then. That then gets us to our paint instructions. We've already read out where they are from. Let's get you in a bit closer. But what we've got is top, bottom view, 2 side profiles, and then we've got some extra blown up bits for decals. So the decals are in red, so there's not too many. It's mainly the national markings and the green stripe. Looks like you've got a decal for the wheel hubs. That bothers me a little bit. Yeah, setting on a wheel hub where you've got a domed surface that's circular, that can be problematic to say the least. So it'll be, yeah, interesting. Quite a few colours here, but they're referring to gloss emerald as which, yeah. So I think they're painting the hub in the gloss emerald, which is the same colour as the stripe. So I think I'd just paint the hubs of the wheels. You can see what I was talking about the colour against the propeller blade itself. You can see that clearly there. Yeah, and then we've got dark matte green on the upper surfaces here, and I guess that was to stop the reflection of sunlight. And what else have we got? 191. 191. I think that's one of their polished metal colours, isn't it? Wow, okay. So it says here, in the little bottom, in the text, it says additional serial number decals, number 29, are provided for modelers who wish to mask and paint their own rudder stripes. So we've got a decal for the rudder stripes with the numbers in, but they also do the numbers and letters separately, so if you want to paint that on, you can then put the numbers on afterwards. Really, really nice. Love that. Although it is in a white border, so the masking would be a little tricky. You'd have to put the white down first, mask off the stripe, mask off that depth, then do your red and your blue. Doable though, definitely. So they make the same comment there. And also here, if you want to mask off the green stripe and paint that in the gloss emerald, they've also provided separate letters for that. So fabulous. There's actually more decals than you perhaps imagine. Yeah, very nice. And then £20 bombs, so they are bombs, those. Painted in the flat 30 as well. 53 being gunmetal for the engine. Yeah, looks like we've got all the stencils and stuff, so very nice. Paint scheme B. And this is the one I'm likely to do because I just love the wiggly lines. Yeah, so just as many paint colours, to be honest. Main thing being in silver, but we've still got the matte dark green upper areas. Is that a different colour propeller? No, it's not. I thought it was, but it's not. Then we've got a research note. It says photos of K1088 seem to indicate that the flight colours on the propeller boss and wheel hubs were yellow rather than red or blue. Okay, so that's why they've done it that way. And this time you've not got a decal for the hubs. They just want you to paint it in 24, which is their signal yellow. So yeah, cool. Yeah, and there's just as many decals, so all good. And then finally, paint scheme C, and we have a couple fewer paints by the looks of it. The hubs are the same colour. We've got a slight difference between the metalwork and the material. We didn't have that in the others, did we? Did I miss that? Oh yeah, we did. I did miss it. But yeah, same ordnance makeup, still got the gun on. I think we've got a few less stencils, but otherwise, yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. There's another research note here saying Royal Australian Air Force Bulldogs were finished and delivered in standard RAF colours. Some sources claim the upper fuselage were finished in night invasion varnish of awkwardness, don't know what that is, but comparisons to photos of RAF Bulldogs would suggest they were the standard dark green, and any variations are down to photographic film of the time. Photos of RAF Bulldogs on delivery suggest that the propeller bosses were neutral metal with wooden rear bosses. No underwing serials were carried. Right, okay. So, that's your easiest propeller painting job then, isn't it? Right, shall we have a look at the deck? This is interesting because this is a new tool and the decals are laid out in a way that appeared to stop in the last 12-18 months or so, and now it's back. So we've got an area marked off with a border saying common, then we've got paint scheme A, B and C. Now more recently all the decals have been jumbled up and they've done red of that, and I assumed that was some form of small cost saving initiative, but it's back, so very strange. I might have to ask Airfix the question on that. Right then, So yeah, very nice. I mean, obviously these are cartograph, so we don't expect any problems. I do have some impressions on this decal here. Can you see that in the light? Where the bag of parts is pressed on it. So this was folded and half protected and face up in the box. Now if it had been face down in the box, I'm not sure it would have saved much of the damage, but it would have dented this upper surface rather than the actual surface of the decal that you're going to use. So it'd be really nice if Airfix could instruct whoever's packing the boxes to put these in upside down. That would be better. And if they went in the box and then the instructions went on top, you'd have a little bit of cushioning, a bit of protection, and possibly giving you a bit of space, and the decals would be safer. Just my view, but just to show you, this had gone in the box, and although it was on, it's not taped down, so it's loose, and this had folded back. So we're lucky that we've only got a few impressions. As it happens, those decals will go on and we won't see the issue, because when we soften it, it'll all just settle into place. So we've got the common, which is lots of stencils and the national markings there. And we've got these little silver, I didn't see where they went, with these little silver half moons. I'm not quite sure what they are. Then we've got the green, big green stripes, which don't look anywhere near as big now as I see them on the decals. That'll be across the top of the wing, and that'll be down the fuselage. And then we can see the separate markings. Same here with the rudders. Yeah, very, very nice. Not too much decal film. I mean, there's no margin around them. Where you've got decal film, it's where they've spaced the letters. So, you know, you could chop a little bit more of that out if you wanted. Then paint scheme B has all these wiggly lines, and I do absolutely love those. So that's what we're going to do. Very nice indeed. Yep, again, really no issues. And then C, we have just simply the rudder at the tail there, and then that. So that's really interesting, isn't it? The rest of it is all as delivered, I guess, and they just didn't have some of these marking letters. So the same stencils and stuff. So yeah, very nice. Nothing wrong with those. Lovely. Okay, plastic parts now. We're going to do these in sprue letter order, and then at the end I'll share some close-up shots of what I can already see is some really breathtaking detail. So sprue A, we've got the two fuselage halves, we've got the framework for the inside of the cockpit, we've got engine components, tail, the rack for the bombs, the tail bits there, tail rudders, propeller, bulkhead, and the exhausts. So my first comment is we've not got things grouped together in build order. Not that that really matters in a small kit with, what, 5 sprues. But they do sometimes do it. They just haven't done on this one. Some general comments about the sprue itself. Nicely spaced out and organised. Very easy to get in with your sprue cutters. We've got the recycling on there, which they now do, which is really lovely. And we have this little tab with the letter on, so you don't have to waste your expensive masking tape on taping it up. So yeah, it's in the now standard, I guess, hard plastic from Airfix. And it all looks really, really crisp, and I'm looking for sink, and I don't see any. We've got no flash, which we'd sort of expect. Some of the sprue gates look a little large, particularly on the ends of the fuselage here. Shouldn't be too much trouble. They are on an edge that you're going to clean up anyway, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. So yeah, I don't see anything that's striking me as, oh dear, why have they done that? type of thing. Although we do have sprue gates on the end here, which you're going to have to be very careful when you remove those, that you don't deform the shape. So cut well away and sand down gently to maintain the curve of your tubes there. But otherwise very nice. We've got some lovely texturing on the fuselage where we have the material stretched over. We can see the internal framework, so all as it should be. The panel lines, not too thick, not too thin, not too shallow, not too deep, just right. So yeah, perfect. We've got some fastener detail there that's raised. Very nice indeed. Yeah, lovely actually. Also got some texturing, really subtle, on the leading edges of the tail here. So we can see these ribs, but in between the ribs there is a little notch where I guess the framework was just stressing the material. So that's really nice, and that follows through a little bit on the back here, where we've got, you can feel it under your finger but you can hardly see it in the light. It'll come out on the paint, of course. Really, really beautiful. And then we've got all these little tiny dots, which are actually countersunk holes. They don't go all the way through, so they are really lovely, very nicely detailed. You know, I've got to say it, the sprue gates are not on the propeller blades. Lovely. I love that. Yeah, very, very nice. Okay, and then the exhausts, well, unfortunately they're solid, but the connection point is actually on the bit where you want to open up. So you might want to drill out. It's a little bit difficult because of the curve, so it'd have to be a shallow drill out and then widen with the end of a file or something like that. So they've not taken the opportunity to do a bit of slide moulding, which would have bumped the price up. It's not cheap to do that, but you know, it's just an observation. Everyone will have a different view on it. It's not major, I don't think. Then we've got some internal detail for the back end of the cockpit there on the inside, but the most of it will be carried on the frame. So yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, yeah, some lovely texturing there as well. Can you see? Yeah, really lovely. Really, really nice. Sprue B now, slightly longer sprue than A, and we've got our two wing halves here. I'm not sure if there's upper or lower, but I think it's the two halves for that, so I think it's upper. And then we've got the flaps in there, the struts there. Then we've got the frame for the wheels and the wheels. These are sort of roughly grouped together, aren't they? But yeah, I mean, lovely texturing. Airfix have really mastered surface textures in recent years, but blimey, the detail on the wings is just exquisite. When you run your finger over it, you can feel the raised rivet heads, fastener heads, and you've got this little border here, which is actually double lines. Let's see if I can get that on camera. You'll certainly see it on the photograph, it's not really showing up. And then we've got this really subtle texturing here, and then that leads into these little mounting points, and they are for your bracing wires. So very, very nicely done. I've no doubt someone will produce photo etch, but the plastic ones will be a lot stronger, and they've done such a nice job of moulding them in. Yeah, really, really nice actually. That is gorgeous. Yeah, really love that. The top surface of the wing, again, lots of texturing, very subtle, but you can see there, very comprehensive as well. They've not just done some generic stripes on it, it's absolutely perfect. I mean, I have no doubt that that is lifelike. It's really, really good. We've got single piece flaps there, bit of seam cleanup on the side, all standard stuff. But the fact that it's a single thick piece of plastic, no detriment, there's no sink or any issues like that, just lovely. Looking at the wing spars now, yeah, nicely detailed, particularly the one with the pitot tube. It's slightly flashy, but it's such a delicate thin part, you'd almost expect it. So yeah, very careful with the cleanup of that, very, very delicate. Yeah, and there is little points for gluing your rigging. Yeah, really nicely done, very, very well executed, love it. Not sure who the designer was of this, but they've done an outstanding job. Very, very, very nice. The framework for the wheels, equally, nice and clear, nice little bit of detail on it. Again, bit of seam cleanup, that's all, couple of swipes and it's done. Then when we look at the wheel halves, you can see the spokes. So the spokes covered with material, and you can see the spokes. There you go. You can see the light catching them. They'll show up on the photos. And you can actually see the tie down points all the way around for the material that's covering it. What a absolute joy. So yeah, you can actually see through that little elliptical shaped hole. You can't see it on camera, it'll pick up on the photos no doubt. You can actually see one of the spokes. Absolutely stunning. The level of detail, I mean, they could have not done that and got away with that, and I bet no one would have commented, but that is truly lovely. Well done, Airfix. that is really nice. You see, and our sprues are steadily getting smaller now as we work through this, and this has got lots of the smaller detail parts. So we've got the seat sides there, the steering stick, the footwells, instrument panel, all sorts of little bits, parts for the engine, spinner top, pedals, those little fluted bits that go on the around the engine. We've got machine gun, we've got these little parts that are on the wings that have the propellers on. Nicely done machine guns, again not open-ended, but the perforation of the cooling jacket is lovely, and detail on the back of it as well. Then we've got various bits of strut and frame, all very nice, sharply moulded, really crisp. Yeah, and with little spinners there, and they have made the sprue gates smaller on some of these smaller parts. So rather than them just going in a straight line and keeping them fairly chunky, they've made them triangular and thinned them out. So yeah, really lovely actually. And then our bombs, single piece, so we've not got separate tails or anything to construct, just cut them off, clean them up, paint them up, plug and play. Very nice. Yeah, nice, nothing wrong with that, really lovely. I can see some areas where the aftermarket people might go for some photo etch, so on this site here maybe, and you might do for the propellers, although they're a bit chunky, but they're not, no one's going to complain about it, that's for sure. Yeah, to be honest, straight out of the box, this is going to be a stunner. So D simply has the two wing halves for the lower wing, and just like the upper wing, the surface detail is exquisite. It is really, really nice with the ribs and the you get two little raised lumps between each rib. Really, really nice. Same level of detail for the mounting points of the cables. I seem to have a little bit of an imperfection in my mould, so I'm not quite sure what that is, but I got a little lump there. I expect that most people won't have that. Easy to sort. It's not a ring up and complain job. It's just a sand it back. Two or three swipes and that'll be sorted. Not quite sure what it is though. Shouldn't be there certainly. And we have no issues where they're using the donut fitting. So I haven't seen any sink, which it did worry me when I saw it in the instructions because you quite often get sink there. But there is no witness at all, and these are lovely and thin on the edge, and then they sort of thicken it up in the middle. It's very nicely done actually. Yeah. Sprue gates, not too bad. On outside edges as best as they could do, so yeah, no issues with that. Lovely. Final grey sprue now, sprue E, smallest sprue in the box of the grey plastic ones at least. And predominantly we've got the piston housings here. So really nicely done. Quite often they overdo the detail to make it clear they're there, and they haven't. It's really subtle. The little cooling fins are really subtly done, so you can feel them more than you can see them, to be honest. Under a wash they'll be stunning. So yeah, and then we've got the little upper fuselage section, can't remember what that is, and then our rudder, all very nicely detailed. That looks like a lamp on the end, so again nicely detailed. Yeah, really good. No issues with that. Again, no flash or anything like that. Just really nice, detailed, tight moulding. Final parts now, sprue F, clear parts, and we've got the windshield, we've got various little lamps, and then this lens here for that big light in the bottom of the fuselage, landing light or something I guess. And all of these are lovely, really nice, crystal clear. I think Airfix do some of the best clear parts. Having just said that, there is a couple of minor issues on my windscreen. I've got some form of, I don't know whether it's sink or stress or something that went wrong with the moulding, but there is a sort of a witness inside the glass. I don't know what it is. I suspect when I put my finger behind it, it disappears. So it's only visible if the light catches it, but you can just see it there, like a little semicircular. So I don't know what that is. I think it won't be visible. Got spidering on that. You can see there on the side piece there, you can see how the light is fracturing. So I've got a spider leg in there. Again, it should disappear. And then on this side, if we can get the light to catch it, there you go, we have some sink. Again, shouldn't be visible, but not the best clear parts I've had from Airfix, just because of that. I suspect that other people will be luckier than me and get something that's a bit more perfect, but no real issues with it, to be honest. there you have it, the brand new tool Airfix 148 Bristol Bulldog Mk.II. What's my first impression? Well, this is all the very best of Airfix, really. So let's run it by the numbers. Packaging, okay. Box, like I say, is a bit flimsy, and mine's already starting to go at the corners. But it's no worse than many other manufacturers. All the parts in a single bag. You know what? There's lots of people that do it. We all like to complain about it, but then we complain about the cost if they did it differently. So, you know, we're a bit like farmers, us modelers. We're never happy. It's model kits are like the weather. It's never perfect, is it? So all in all, I don't really have any issues with the packaging. My only comment would be, please put the decals in face down and do something to protect them. Otherwise, no real issues. So then we come to the instructions and the decals themselves. Well, decals are a no-brainer. They're beautiful. They're well done. The cartograph, so there's hardly any decal fill margin, so there's no excess. Colours are beautiful and vibrant. You just know they're going to go down absolutely without any issues. They're the best you can get. Yeah, full marks. Instructions, again, Airfix for me are still amongst the market leaders when it comes to instructions. Really clear instructions, lots of helpful advice and tips as you go, and what a stunning set of rigging instructions towards the end. Absolutely lovely. Again, absolute full marks for the instructions. Class leading, to be honest. I don't ever have any issues with Airfix instructions. The plastic parts, well, if we deal with the grey ones first, the detailing of the parts is stunning, and in some areas breathtaking. The level of detail is really up there with what other people would consider the best. So you could easily put that in a box and put Tamiya on it, or put Edward on it, and no one would bat an eye and go, yeah, that's clearly that's standard. But this is Airfix, and they are increasingly, for me, the market leaders in terms of the plastic parts. Now, yes, there's other things that we would like them to do. We'd like them to put masking sets in. We'd like them to put photo etch in, and so on. There's no seat harnesses, for example, and other companies would put that in. But then all of that has an impact on the price, and Airfix are always very conscious about it being affordable, and there is a balance where you put in stuff or you don't, and let the aftermarket do it. I'd very much like to see Airfix do sort of an upgraded version, a master series, if you like, where they put in photo etch rigging, and they put in photo etch harnesses and bits and pieces, and you have the option to pay a bit more. I can't remember what was said. I think is it 5 or 10% of modelers are the people that buy aftermarket. Well, I'm not sure how true that is when you see how much aftermarket is about, but you know, it's quite clear there is a market for it. So I think they could put more in and probably make more out of that sale. Having said that, there's very little you could do to this kit to improve it. I think the rigging is always going to be a personal choice. There's a lot of people that will build it and never put the rigging in, and it'll still look a smart, stunning model in its paint job. So for me, I think Airfix generally get the balance right between how much the kit costs and whether you're going to want to throw aftermarket at it. Because sometimes you'll buy a kit and it's got some photo etching, and then you buy the aftermarket photo etch and it replaces it all anyway. So why did you pay more for the original kit when you were going to buy aftermarket? So it's a juggle, and it's a bit of a minefield, and I think poor old Airfix are damned if they do and damned if they don't. My conclusion, however, is this is a beautiful, beautiful kit, and as a result I'm dropping everything to build it because I really want to get stuck into that. Look at that, isn't that stunning? Beautiful bit of artwork on the front there, really shows the aircraft off at its best. I think it's just stunning, and increasingly I'm saying this kit after kit after kit from Airfix, and I can't think of another manufacturer where my conclusion is always there ain't much wrong with this. So the cost of this is $28.99 recommended retail. If you buy it from Airfix, of course, then you've got the option of using your hobby points to get that cost down, and of course if you're a member like I am, you can get your 10% off as well. So that's all good. And of course, if you've collected 40 or more flying hours, then you could get it for free on your passport because it's a Series 5. So, you know, what could be better than a new toolkit for just the price of shipping? And of course, if you put something else in your bundle, you even get your shipping free. So, you know what? So all in all, a really nice kit, well presented, and I can't wait to get stuck in and build it. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to actually start chopping away at sprues in a minute. So thanks very much for looking in. Hope that was useful. If you've been wondering whether you wanted to dip your toe into the Bulldog or not, just do it because it's stunning. All right. Thanks for looking in. Enjoy your modelling, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's free, and that way you won't miss my first impressions, my tool reviews, my product reviews, and any of my builds, including wooden model kits as well as plastic. It's all free, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit my PayPal link in the text below. Every pound goes straight into the channel to keep the cameras rolling and to do more fun stuff for you to watch.